The group of friends is gathered in Sarah and David's apartment, a cozy yet modern space that reflects their personalities, a mix of practical furniture and warm, inviting decor. They're relaxing after a long week, with Sarah preparing snacks in the kitchen while the others sit around the living room, chatting and watching TV. It's a typical Friday night, with plans to watch a new movie, order takeout, and enjoy each other's company. David is fiddling with his new camcorder, a purchase made for an upcoming trip that now seems forgotten as he films the group, capturing their laughter and light-hearted banter. The mood is light, filled with the easy comfort of close friends who have known each other for years. The tranquility is first disrupted by a breaking news alert on the TV. The screen flashes red, and the group's attention is drawn to a stern-faced news anchor reporting on a mysterious illness that has been spreading in a small town several hundred miles away. The news segment shows shaky footage of emergency services in full protective gear, streets cordoned off, and terrified residents being ushered away. Sarah, ever the responsible one, turns up the volume as the others listen with mild interest. The anchor explains that the illness causes extreme aggression and strange behavior in those infected, but details are still scarce. Emma, always the skeptic, dismisses it as another sensationalized news story meant to scare people. "It's probably just another flu scare," she says, waving a hand dismissively. But Sarah is not so sure. "This looks serious," she says, a frown creasing her brow. "Look at the way the authorities are reacting. They're treating it like a biohazard." David, still holding the camcorder, zooms in on Sarah's worried expression. "Maybe you're overthinking it. But just in case, we should keep an eye on this." The group's attention gradually shifts back to their evening plans, but the news story lingers in the back of their minds, casting a subtle shadow over their laughter. A few days pass, and life in the city continues as normal. But the news updates on the virus become more frequent, with reports of it spreading to nearby regions. People begin to talk, though the tone is still more curious than concerned. Sarah is at the hospital where she works when she first sees it up close. A patient is brought in, a middle-aged man, unresponsive but breathing rapidly. His skin is pale, almost gray, with a sheen of sweat that makes him look ghostly under the fluorescent lights. Sarah overhears the doctors talking in hushed tones. They think he might have the mysterious illness that's been on the news. As she helps wheel the man into a quarantine room, she can feel the tension among the staff. Later that evening, Sarah recounts the experience to the group. "It was eerie," she says, her voice low as if speaking louder might somehow make it more real. "I've never seen anything like it. The doctors didn't even know what to do with him. They just locked him away." The group falls silent, the weight of her words settling in. Tom, always the protector, suggests they start thinking about how to prepare, just in case. "We should stock up on supplies. You know, food, water, the basics. If this thing gets out of control, the last place you want to be is in a crowded store." Rachel, who has been unusually quiet, finally speaks up. "Do you really think it's going to get that bad?" No one answers, but the look on Sarah's face is enough to make them all uneasy. Within a week, the city is in turmoil. The virus has spread faster than anyone anticipated, and the government has issued warnings for people to stay indoors. The news reports are no longer just updates, they're frantic, desperate, filled with images of chaos. Streets once filled with people are now scenes of terror, with citizens turning on each other in fear and confusion. The group watches in horror as footage of their own city appears on the news, showing people collapsing in the streets, their bodies convulsing before they rise with lifeless eyes. The once familiar skyline now looks like a battlefield, with smoke rising from fires set during riots and emergency vehicles racing through the streets. Tom's earlier suggestion now feels prophetic. They rush to gather what they can: non-perishable food, bottled water, first aid supplies. David takes charge of securing the apartment, reinforcing the doors and windows while the others pack bags with essentials. Sarah makes a final call to her parents, urging them to leave the city, but the call doesn't go through. The phone lines are overloaded, and a sense of helplessness starts to creep in. As they prepare, they realize they need to leave the city before it's too late. The group decides to head towards the countryside, where they hope the virus hasn't spread yet. But they know the journey will be dangerous, with the streets already swarming with the infected and panicked survivors. They set out early the next morning, just as the sun begins to rise. The city is eerily quiet, the only sounds being distant sirens and the occasional scream echoing through the empty streets. The once vibrant urban landscape now feels like a graveyard, with abandoned cars and debris littering the roads. David drives, with Sarah in the passenger seat and the others huddled in the back, all too aware of the tension that fills the car. They encounter other survivors along the way. Some are desperate, begging for help, while others are aggressive, viewing anyone they meet as a threat. At one point, they stop at a small convenience store on the outskirts of the city. The store has been ransacked, but they manage to find a few useful items. However, they're not alone. A group of armed men enters the store, eyeing them with suspicion. The tension is palpable as the two groups size each other up, but they manage to avoid a confrontation and leave quickly. That night, they find a small, abandoned farmhouse to take refuge in. It's isolated, far from any major roads, and provides a sense of security they haven't felt since leaving the city. As the group settles in, exhausted and on edge, David takes out his camcorder. He begins to record, speaking directly to the camera. Day 1, I don't know what to say. Everything has changed so fast. 1 week ago, we were just living our lives, and now it feels like the world is ending. We've seen things today that I never thought possible. But we're still here. We're still fighting. I don't know what tomorrow will bring, but we'll face it together. He turns the camera towards the others, capturing their weary faces. Sarah offers a small, reassuring smile, but the fear in her eyes is unmistakable. Tom is checking the windows, ensuring they're secure, while Emma and Rachel sit together, trying to find some comfort in each other's presence. David lowers the camera, his expression somber. He knows this is just the beginning. As night falls, the farmhouse grows quiet, with only the occasional rustle of leaves or distant animal sounds breaking the silence. The group has barricaded the doors and windows with whatever they could find: old furniture, planks of wood, and even heavy farm tools left behind by the previous occupants. Despite their efforts, a sense of vulnerability hangs in the air. Sarah takes the first watch, sitting by a window that overlooks the driveway. She holds a flashlight in one hand and a kitchen knife in the other, the closest thing they have to a weapon. The others try to sleep, but the tension in the room is palpable. Each creak of the old wooden floorboards causes someone to stir, eyes darting open in fear. David, unable to sleep, joins Sarah at the window. He's still holding the camcorder, filming the empty road outside. Do you think we'll make it? He asks quietly, his voice barely above a whisper. Sarah doesn't answer immediately. Instead, she keeps her eyes on the driveway, scanning the darkness for any sign of movement. Finally, she sighs. "I don't know, David. But we don't have a choice. We have to keep going." David nods, though he doesn't seem convinced. He lowers the camcorder and turns to Sarah. "You're the strongest person I know. If anyone can get us through this, it's you." Sarah offers him a small, tired smile, but the weight of responsibility is heavy on her shoulders. "I just want to keep everyone safe. But this is beyond anything I've ever faced." Before David can respond, a sudden noise outside startles them both. It's faint but distinct, the sound of footsteps crunching on gravel. They freeze, holding their breath as they listen. The footsteps grow louder, approaching the farmhouse. Sarah quickly douses the flashlight and signals David to stay low. They crawl to the front door, where Tom is already standing, holding a heavy wrench in his hands, ready to defend the group. The footsteps stop just outside the door, and for a moment, all they can hear is the pounding of their own hearts. Then, a low growl echoes through the silence, followed by scratching at the door. Sarah's eyes widen in horror as she realizes what's on the other side. "It's one of them," she whispers, barely able to get the words out. Tom tightens his grip on the wrench, his face set in determination. "If it breaks through, we'll have to take it down." They all hold their breath as the scratching intensifies, the creature outside clawing at the door with increasing ferocity. The wooden door creaks under the pressure, and it's clear that it won't hold for long. But then, just as suddenly as it began, the scratching stops. The group remains frozen in place, waiting to see if the creature will return. Minutes pass, but the night remains silent. Finally, Sarah exhales, realizing she's been holding her breath.